This video is dedicated in loving memory to my friend Dan, who passed away yesterday in a freak accident working on his Jeep. Very tragic, very sudden thing. It's very hard because Dan was one of those people that, you know, you met him and he was just a super genuine dude. He was my uncle's neighbor. I met him through my uncle. He was one of my uncle's best friends, but like, he was the type of dude that would just give you the shirt off his back. He loved video games. He loved helping people. He would do work for me on my old car. He redid my grandmother's basement. He redid my grandmother's stairway. And it was always like, you had to go out of your way to pay him. He never wanted to ask you for money or anything like that. And when he would ask you, like, he would always lowball it. And it was like so ridiculous. It got to the point of where I would have him do something for me and I would just send him money via PayPal. So he had to accept it. He was a great person. He loved video games. We had talked about, you know, he was going to do some knickknacks at my new place. I had just talked to him a couple days ago, and I was telling him my plans for the place, and he was like, "Oh, let me stay in your guest room." I was like, "Dude, whenever you want, man." He leaves behind a wife, 2 kids. I know the family watches the channel sometimes, so if you guys are watching this, Dan will be severely missed by myself, by everyone in the family. Everyone who knew him knew what a great guy he was. And it's just such a damn shame that, you know, this tragic accident happened. If you guys ever need anything, you know how to reach out to me. Rest in peace, Dan. You will be missed. And that's one of the things about being an entertainer. The show must go on. And I feel like Dan would still want the show to go on because, you know, some of this stuff would actually interest him. What's up, guys? I'm RGT85. We got a couple stories about an Arcade1Up, big update of some new machines coming in. And of course, the Nintendo Switch Joycon situation seems to be getting worse for Nintendo. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And first off, we're going to talk about these new Arcade1Up cabinets because there had been rumors about a Ridge Racer. You know, TRON was kind of confirmed. Killer Instinct was kind of confirmed as well, but we didn't have any sort of release dates or anything like that for any of those games. But now it has changed, and honestly, I'm very interested in one of these cabinets, but it might not be the cabinet you expect. All right, so first off, we're going to talk about the Killer Instinct arcade cabinet, and this is one I'm pretty interested in. I'm honestly not the biggest Killer Instinct fan in the world when it comes to like the retro fighting games. Like, I'm good at Mortal Kombat, I'm good at Street Fighter. Killer Instinct, I never really played all that much because it was an exclusive on the Super Nintendo and I didn't have one at the time, and I didn't go to arcades all that much. So this is a game that's kind of lost on me, but I still appreciate it, and whenever I play it now, like on my Xbox One or something like that, or via the Xbox Series X, I always enjoy it. Pre-orders will be up for this system starting on November 10th, so not too far away. Obviously, we have the X-Men and the Simpsons arcade cabinet coming out very soon, and it looks like I might end up picking up this one. So beyond Killer Instinct, you also get Killer Instinct 2, Battletoads, the arcade version, Battletoads 8-bit and 16-bit versions as a bonus game. So that's actually pretty cool, honestly. You know, a lot of good stuff in there, and here we could see the list of games. There is Wi-Fi for online play. You get a light-up marquee, a light-up deck protector, which I'm not the biggest fan of when it comes to the deck protector, but there is one thing that's circulating around with this cabinet, and that has to do with the molding of it. So as you can see, there's like a little ledge or a little lip right there. Supposedly this has actually been fixed. This is an older render of the cabinet, but you know, showing it, it's like kind of that's the one you have to go based on. But definitely a really slick looking cabinet. Like, I believe this guy's name is Spinal there. You know, it just looks awesome. And that, it just to like hear that song, like when you walk into your area where your Arcade1Ups are, that Killer Instinct theme song, which I'm actually using for the song of this video because I love it so much. Like, that's a cool thing. You know, that to me is sort of like hearing Daytona from Daytona, USA. So definitely a very cool cabinet and one I'm keeping my eye on. The next one is the TRON arcade cabinet. Now, pre-orders for this will be available starting on 10/19. This includes TRON and the sequel, which Discs of TRON. I'll be honest with you guys, these games were definitely before my time. I think the cabinet itself looks awesome though. Like, look at the light up stick there. Like, that's really cool. It's going to have online leaderboards and things of that nature. It's a really cool looking cabinet, but much like the Star Wars arcade trilogy that released, you know, these games are a little bit before my time. I definitely have no sort of nostalgia for these games or anything. So this one will probably be a pass for me, but I know a lot of people are excited for TRON. So, you know, that's cool for them. But for me, I could definitely do without this one. But here's the one that surprised the hell out of me, and that's the Ridge Racer Arcade1Up. Now, we talked about the Ridge Racer Arcade1Up a couple weeks ago on the channel. It had leaked via a Wayfair website, I believe it was. And now we know that this will be coming for pre-orders on November 22nd. But my question about this cab was, obviously, it looks great, but what were the games going to be on it? And surprisingly, this is stacked with games. So you get the original Ridge Racer, you get Ridge Racer 2, which really wasn't a sequel. It was more just sort of an upgrade to Ridge Racer, kind of like a Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition versus like a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition or something like that. Little variants. You also get Rave Racer, which was more of this sequel to Ridge Racer. You get Ace Driver and Ace Driver Victory Lap, which were games that I wasn't familiar with, so I looked them up, and essentially they're just like F1 style arcade racing games. And this is a cabinet, I'm buying this on day one. I'm signing up for the pre-orders because this cabinet, it offers you something that a lot of other arcade cabinets don't offer you as far as the Arcade1Up line is concerned. And that's a really good variety of stuff here. You have 3 Ridge Racer games, well, 2 Ridge Racer games and Rave Racer, Ace Driver and Ace Driver Victory Lap. So you're getting a good variety. And obviously, like, racing games are awesome. It's going to have Wi-Fi leaderboards as well, which I think is really cool. So this cabinet went from something I was, you know, somewhat interested in to something I'm very interested in. Now, if they could do this with Daytona, like, oh man, I'll be a very broke person. But this one is the one that I'm definitely getting. You know, I'll look at Killer Instinct, I'll check the funds in the bank account to see if, you know, I can afford that, because, you know, soon I'll have a mortgage, yay. But this is one that I'm definitely buying on day one. You know, I will make room for this. I will find a place for this because I love racing games from the arcade. It's something that was very special because it was an experience that you could not get at home, and really you can sort of get it at home with all the new steering wheels and stuff like that. But I think this is just a perfect sort of game for this. So let me know in the comments section down below what games you're looking forward to of these Arcade1Up machines. Did you order the X-Men and the Simpsons or anything like that? I have those 2 coming, and will you be getting any of these? Let me know in the comments. And finally, the biggest issue with the Nintendo Switch that Nintendo has constantly been faced with is, of course, the Joy-Con drift for the controllers. It's something that a lot of people have experienced. It's something we've talked about a lot on this channel. It's something that I have personally experienced. I've at least gone through 2 or 3 sets of Joy-Cons that have gotten drift. So honestly, it's just a pain in the ass situation, and it's something that Nintendo is obviously aware of because they've mentioned it before in shareholders meetings, but it seems like they never really do anything with it. With the Nintendo Switch OLED model coming out today on October 8th, a lot of people were hopeful that maybe Nintendo would have done something different with the Joy-Cons. Maybe they would use some different technology in there. Maybe they would make them a little bit different, but it seems like that's actually not the case. Now, there was a discovery made with some of the more recent Joy-Cons that had come out that looked like maybe Nintendo had done something, but really it was just a difference in manufacturing of the Joy-Cons as far as the innards were concerned. Those Joy-Cons are still prone to drift. There's been a lot of lawsuits and a lot of class action stuff going on, but now there's something even bigger happening with the Nintendo Switch drift situation with the Joy-Cons. A group called Euroconsumers, which is a group that represents 5 national consumer organizations, has issued a press release challenging Nintendo about these Joy-Cons. Some of the highlights from it include the new version of the Nintendo Switch console, the Switch OLED, expected on October 8th, 2021, shows an unsolved technical problem with its controllers, an issue commonly called Joy-Con drift that prevents players from playing the game properly. Nintendo is quite aware of this flaw, yet they still plans to roll out the Switch with no problem. Euroconsumers calls Nintendo to account. They then go on to say that there have been issues raised before, previously in January of 2020. In January of 2021, BEUC, the European umbrella group for 46 independent consumer organizations, launched an alert to the CPC network about the issue going on with this, and it seems like Nintendo isn't doing anything. On top of this, EU action, 2 class actions have been launched in the US, and a Canadian firm has filed an application to begin a class action. They go on to say, nevertheless, Nintendo has taken no actions to remedy the flaw or alert consumers. It even issues a new Switch OLED with the exact same Joy-Con design, with the exact same inescapable defect. Meanwhile, Nintendo keeps putting a great deal of emphasis on the quality and versatility of the Joy-Cons. So basically, Euroconsumers, along with this press release, actually called to attention 4 things that they want Nintendo to do. The first one is to adequately inform customers of drift and clarify an expected life cycle on packaging, fully respect the legal product guarantee without the burden of proof or cost to consumers, provide clear contact details at Nintendo for resolving the Joy-Con issue, and resolve the flaw to ensure a more sustainable version of the controllers. Euro consumers also said they will participate in dialogue and testing with Nintendo. So now, you know, this is getting pretty serious. We're not just talking about like small individual class action lawsuits here. We're talking about literal groups of consumers, consumer advocacy groups going after Nintendo about this Joy-Con situation. And honestly, I really can't blame anyone with this. Like, if this was an off thing, if this was something that wasn't really prevalent or wasn't really common for the Nintendo Switch to experience, then I could sort of understand it. You know, it looks sort of like the red ring of death. You know, Microsoft got the red ring of death situation. They ended up handling it and making the Xbox 360 better, but Nintendo hasn't done anything with these Joy-Cons. They're the exact same Joy-Cons that we've been getting since day one with this system. They've released multiple colors of the Joy-Cons, they've released multiple skins for the Joy-Cons, and they've done nothing to actually improve upon them. I feel like the Nintendo Switch OLED situation was an area that Nintendo could actually improve upon these Joy-Cons. Now, as far as how deep this will go, it just depends. Like, if you get in the ear of the right person in these consumer groups who know someone who's like a judge or something like that, this could end up being a big lawsuit for Nintendo. Do I think it'll end up getting that far? No, but this is a lot of negative publicity that's going around with the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con situation. I think at some point in time, Nintendo needs to address and say, hey, you know what, we messed these up a little bit, we're doing new Joy-Cons, and then they wouldn't even have to worry about it. But the fact that Nintendo is just saying so, you know, headstrong with this and keeping the same design and keeping the exact same Joy-Cons just isn't really the best of looks for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole situation plays out, because I feel like at some point in time, Nintendo is going to have to address this, and what they end up doing will be very interesting to see. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know the intro was a bit, you know, depressing and my energy was a little bit low here, but you know, I'm a little tired, you know, that news and, you know, packing up and making sure all my stuff is in line for my upcoming move next week. You know, a lot of stress going on around here, but everything is all good. You know, life goes on, another day, another dollar. So let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I sincerely appreciate everyone who watches these, especially till the end, because you're giving me sweet ad revenue when the little sub ads play during the video. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later. I hit the mic.